Welcome to MaD Life, living your life in excellence and reaching your full potential. Hi, this is Dave Showman, and we're back in episode 3 of MaD Life, and my wife Mary is here, and we're going to talk about anxiety and depression. My wife suffers from anxiety. She's been suffering with it for quite some time. She's got some really cool coping skills. Maybe we could talk about those a little bit. And what does that mean? To be anxious for her might be different than how I feel anxious, male and female type of thing, or maybe there's no blanket reason of anxiety. So, Mary, let's talk about your anxiety. What's going on with that? What does it do for you?
Well, first, let's take a deep breath. That's one of my coping mechanisms. I probably didn't experience or be familiar with my anxiety until after I had my daughter, who's going to be 18 in a couple months. I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. I woke up one morning and told my husband at the time, I'm not coming home tonight or any night. Bye, and I left. By the time I got to work, I called and said, I'm fine, but you need to find someone for me to talk to now. Because I literally felt like my world was like imploding on me. So, found a therapist for me to talk to. She had me look at a pamphlet, and I answered everything but one. And so I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and began a series of counseling. And then she suggested that I see a doctor and have my blood done because I guess after you have a baby, your thyroid can be whacked. And so I remember the doctor's office calling me and telling me that my blood results were normal. I hung up the phone and I drove there and I said, I need to see him now. Something's wrong. I need to see him now. So I waited in the waiting room. I'm sure they all thought I was crazy. But I had a really good doctor at the time, so I was actually on antidepressants for about 2 to 3 years.
Did they work?
Well, they lessened the depression and anxiety, but what I don't like about antidepressants, and before, anyone says anything, I'm all for if people need medications, so be it. They can be on medication. I didn't like it because it flatlined me. I had no emotion.
But that's not good.
No, I just walked around going, yeah, okay, life's good. Yeah, life's great. But literally no emotion. Like didn't cry over anything. Didn't really laugh over anything. And it kills your sex drive.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in your case, you wouldn't recommend him for yourself, but others, you're okay with that?
Well, like I said, I wouldn't recommend being on anti-anxiety or antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are people who need them. There are people with chronic disease and illness that need to take them just to help maintain their levels of what's going on for them. I have had a lot going on lately, and I've actually been really proud of myself that I haven't gone back on them, because there's been a couple of days where it's like, I don't know if I can do this without them.
So you started anti-anxiety medicine after your daughter was born, and then 3 years, and then you stopped after that? Mm-hmm. Okay. I just getting clarification, because it sounds like you've been on them for the last 18 years.
No. I was on them I said I was on them for about 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And then my marriage didn't work.
This is her first marriage,
yes,
people are wondering.
Yes, not my second to Dave. My first marriage didn't work, and it's kind of, I don't know, I guess it's kind of ironic that as soon as I left, I went off of the antidepressants.
So do you think it was your marriage or postpartum that caused you to have anxiety?
I think it was a combination of both, honestly.
I know some people just go to the doctor and get anxiety medicine because they feel a certain way, but they don't do any therapy. In some cases that's okay, but do you think people need to do their work while they're taking the medication, or just the medication's enough for them?
If they're capable of doing the work, yes. I am a person who believes in therapy. I believe in therapists. I think everyone should have one on speed dial if they could afford it.
What about all the side effects of anxiety? I mean, there's some serious side effects on some of them, like suicide.
The medications or just having anxiety?
Just the medication, just to take a medication, because I know that they were going to, want to put some medication on one of my kids, right? I think it was Chayton. He wanted to have medication for his anxiety, and I said no because he was a teenager. And so I said no because I didn't want him to have that suicide part of it, and I think the majority at that time was of the medications that were offered. That was one of the disclaimers on all of them, not just one, and then, if you take this one, it doesn't have it.
Well, actually, I experienced something like that.
Okay.
After I left my marriage and I was living by myself, and it was like the perfect storm. They were doing layoffs at work, and I owed lots of money in taxes, and it just, divorce was getting finalized. Anyway, a storm of emotions, and I was at work, and I thought I was having a heart attack.
Wow.
So I drove myself, not very smart. So I drove myself to the emergency room and said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And they'll see you right away if you say that, by the way.
Sure.
So, and I got in, hooked me up, and they said, oh, no, it's a panic attack. I was like, oh, my God. I was so embarrassed. So, long story short, they gave me, I don't remember if it was Xanax or Ativan. It was one of those two. And he said, it's a very small dose, but take half of one and see how you feel.
Right.
So I went home, I took half of one, and that night, my daughter was with me in her room, and I was laying on the couch, and I had the thought, if this apartment was on fire, I probably wouldn't move.
Wow.
And I thought, that's an interesting thought. The next morning, I woke up, and the first thought I had was, I wonder when the best time to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge would be when there's not a lot of people around.
So it definitely had a mental effect on you. You just didn't care, or
no, I didn't care.
Why did you go down that rabbit hole?
I have no idea. So I took my rear end back to the doctor's office and said, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And he actually, at that point, he said, I wish they would have called me because I would not have recommended that for you specifically.
Okay.
But at that time, he took me off of everything. He said, let's just try to go without anything.
Okay. So you're one of the individuals that you're not a good candidate for medication.
I don't think so.
Okay. I mean, we're not doctors by any means. I just want to make that disclaimer out. So some medications are more sensitive to others. I just want to put that out there. So, I'm not promoting no medication compared to that if you need medication. So I just want our listeners to understand that hey, if it works for you, great. If it doesn't work, be really in tune with your body, really find out if this is really working for you or not. But I come from a belief that if you have anxiety, it could be biological. It could be other things, like Mary mentioned her thyroid. Mary mentioned, it could be your Abdul Abagadon going crazy. There's a physical effect that's going on that's crazy. So it is a biological response to something. So maybe there's something's wrong with you, biologically. So go to the doctor first, get checked out, and then if they can't find anything wrong with you, then it might be mental. Because that's one of the things for any therapist to rule out. They have to rule out biological, before they can start therapy, because there's no point, because otherwise you don't know what you're getting every time a person comes in. The other thing is that Mary didn't mention that her when she was going through labor, she almost died. She lost a lot of blood. So her first pregnancy was very medically, dangerous for her. So do you think that was a combination for your postpartum, or do you really think you had postpartum because of everything else that was going on?
I don't know. All I know is I went to a therapist and she gave me this checklist.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I did not check off was I wanted to hurt my child.
Well, that was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
So because I
Yeah.
marked 9 boxes out of 10, she said, well,
Sure.
most likely you have postpartum depression.
So she wasn't for sure without further testing. She didn't do any other testing, did she, to confirm?
No.
Okay, so she just said she's just going off this box, this brochure.
Yeah. She had me go. She did tell me to get a doctor's exam.
Yeah.
Have my thyroid checked. Wanted to make sure,
Here.
what was going on there.
Well, what I get mad about is that doctors are more willing to just give medication and that's it, without doing any of the follow up. That goes for therapists too. There's really good therapists and there's some really crappy therapists, and there's a lot of good therapists in between. So do your research if you're going to go find a therapist. Do your research if you really feel anxious and depression where it's to the point where you can't handle it anymore, because the research is going to help you to find the good ones over the bad ones. Yes, Mary. I can see the look on her face. She's like biting her lip.
So about that,
Mm-hmm.
basically, if you can get up and get out of bed and function,
Mm-hmm.
you're okay. In my mind.
Okay.
What I wanted to say about that is someone like me who is an X type A personality. I've left it. Dave's smirking at me, but I have left that order. When someone is high functioning,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden they're not high functioning, they might think that something's really, really wrong with them.
Sure.
So it was interesting. One of my best friends is fighting cancer right now.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling me just last night, oh, you have so much more going on than I do. And I was like, how? I mean, come on. How do you see that? And she's like, well, she's on Social Security now because she can't work.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I have Social Security. I don't have to worry about commuting. I'm not on furlough. I'm not worried about whether I have a job.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't lost one of my best friends and my mom within a month of each other. Mm-hmm. I don't have a daughter who didn't get to graduate. And then there are a couple other things. And she's like, so yeah, I look at my life easier than yours. And so I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of, okay, that makes sense why I move a little slower right now and why I don't have to be high functioning. And when you're used to high functioning, and when you put your worth in high functioning, and for some reason you're not able to high function that day because your mom died 3 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and you still don't even know how to feel about that.
Right.
You feel a little wobbly.
Well, we've had more than that. I mean, we had your favorite uncle passed away a year ago.
Right.
So, and then we had your mom pass away, and then we had your best friend pass away. It's like one right after the other. And I think from being with you every day, you've been handling it very well. But handling it and functioning are two different things. So maybe you can explain what functioning is for you with the person who has anxiety and depression. What does that mean?
Well, functioning, I don't have anxiety and depression every day. Well, right now, no, I don't know. Anyway, the word gentle and the words gentle and tender come to mind.
Okay.
Like if I'm beating myself up, like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that, or I really should have done more exercise today.
Right.
No.
Okay.
So I've had to really learn to slow down, get rid of. I did a little video about this a couple of days ago about giving up what no longer works for me in terms of coping and adding things that are more healthy for me in terms of coping. I've extended my devotion and Bible time in the morning from like 15 minutes to like 45 minutes now because I have the time.
Right.
I talked about tapping in my video. That always, every single time I can do one round of tapping, I can be relaxed. or more relaxed, less anxious. So I guess back to your question about functioning.
Yeah.
So functioning is sometimes it's getting a lot done in the day, and sometimes it's just waking up and breathing and having some food, maybe watching a movie and going to bed.
How does expectations fall into that? I mean, towards other people. What do you expect them to be like around you when you're having your, I hate to say the word episode because it sounds so generic or dismissive, but expectations become, finish the sentence.
I want people to treat me like they would normally treat me.
Okay.
I don't want to be, oh, Mary's having a moment, or oh, Mary's a little more anxious. If I've gotten a lot better telling people I'm having a bad day today,
Sure.
or my anxiety is a little higher today, and just by being able to express it and not have someone try to fix it, it helps calm the water.
Now listen to that, guys. Men like to fix things. Just want to let you know that I fall into that trap too. So if your wife or your loved one, whoever it is telling you stop fixing, stop fixing. Let them have their moments. It's real important for people to have their moment. Because if you're trying to stop the process, it's not about them anymore. It's about you. Because you're uncomfortable or you feel that, oh, I need to fix this so they can stop. It takes the focus off of the individual that's suffering. And what they really need is somebody just to listen to. Do you think that's accurate?
Yes, and also for the people who are not used to saying, hey, I need my own space right now.
Right.
I just need to be by myself. Like, perfect example. Earlier today, I was peeling eggs, and Dave was standing next to me helping me. I felt literally like my room was like crushing in on me. And so, excuse me. And so I told Dave, I'm feeling crowded right now. I said, it's not about you. And he's like, no, it is about me because I'm standing right here. But it really wasn't about him. It was just that in the moment I was feeling crowded.
Okay.
But it wasn't anything external. It was internal.
Sure.
Because I'm processing so much right now that it feels full. And it feels like it's expanding and it's stretching and it's trying to move around in there.
So when you feel full, does little things seem to bother you more?
Yes.
Like you accidentally drop the towel. Like I dropped the towel in the kitchen before. But in your mind when you're feeling full, it's like, oh my God, I dropped the damn towel? Or is it, I just dropped the towel?
It's like that camel it's like the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
It's like that one more thing. It's like,
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I've had days like that.
I say, not today, scratch, and try to move on.
And try to move on, yeah. It's hard to move on when you're in the moment of it. It's like, I don't have the ability, like a light switch, just turn it off and then move on. I've met people like that. It's the weirdest thing. They have their moment, click it off, and then they move on, they're fine. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So I am a little more sensitive. So when Mary's reacting to me, I take it to the next level, which causes me anxiety too. Because I don't know what to do, because I feel like no matter what I do, I feel like I'm floating in space and I don't have any grounding. And I'm trying to latch onto her or latch onto something and say, okay, what do you want me to do at this moment? And try not to fix it, but just tell me what you want me to do. And I guess it's hard for her sometimes to tell me what that is because she's in the moment or full.
Well, and most of the time, I just want to be left alone.
And so in my mind, I think, just tell me I want to be left alone. I'm not going to take it personal, but I think it's sometimes if you can just say at the get-go, I am having a bad day. I want to be left alone. I might be coming and going in and out of the house or whatever it is. Don't take it personal. You know, being left alone doesn't mean you go into a room and hide away and you're hermetized. Being left alone for some people is they're everywhere in the house and they're in their own thoughts and doing things. You know, so being left alone means they don't want to have interaction, I'm assuming. You don't want to be fixed, I guess.
I don't want to have interaction. I don't want to have to worry about what's for dinner. Right. I don't want to have to worry about what the girls are doing. I don't want to have to worry about what Dave is doing. Right. I just want to rest.
But do you think that should be a responsibility that when you're anybody that's in this mode, not to be reactive to other people when they don't know what's going on?
I think that you have a responsibility to let people know what's going on for you, and I think the reactions sometimes, for me, sometimes I feel guilty because I'm not making dinner,
Right.
and because I'm not catering to Dave, and because I'm not catering to the girls, and because I'm not doing what I think that they think that I should be doing,
Right.
which is stupid.
That causes me anxiety just to think about that. It's like, how do you flesh that one out, right? Because
Right.
in my mind, I don't need to be catered, but in her mind, she thinks I do.
So now I'm walking around going, well, I have to be a good wife. So now I'm trying to make dinner, banging pans around, going, and Dave's asking me what's wrong, and I'm like, nothing.
Yes. And so there is something obviously going wrong because I get the breathe. We call it fat breathing, by the way. So, but it's the side remarks, the rolling of the eyes, all that stuff, and something's wrong. And so maybe it's too hard to say, there's something's wrong. I need to be left alone. I get that. I've been in that space where I can't even put it together, the words. Hopefully, if you're with somebody long enough, you kind of get a clue. You get the clues, you put them together, and you're able to go, okay, she needs her space. I guess I should just step back, check in. I think they need the check in. How are you doing? What do you need? Because sometimes that will make the words come out. But don't be so absent to where they feel isolated, like you don't care or oblivious, or you're waiting for them to be flatlined so you can talk to them. That's just ridiculous because that never happens. I've never met a flatline person, where you get your moments in. But there's some people out there that expect people to be even killed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's how it's supposed to be no matter what. And that's their expectations of that individual. I know Mary's experienced that.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. It doesn't work. I knew when I married Mary, she was type A. She wants to say she's not type A. She's still type A. She's like,
I'm not type A anymore.
yes. Well, type A is not a bad thing. You're looking at it as I'm a type A, but making the adjustments to become a better type A, not the type A that runs all over everybody and doesn't care. You care, but you're still type A because when you're doing your papers for school, you want that A, and if you don't get the A, it bugs the crap out of you.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true. You're not going to change that about you, but you're looking at it in a different lens. You're willing to take a little step like, okay, how am I affecting this person by being this way? And I think that's what we're really about, is that we're trying to talk to go to the other side for a little bit. I think I'm more type B. I'm kind of relaxed, even killed. Even Mary goes, God, I hate you because you're always calm and cool and collective. But she doesn't do the thermometer checks as often as I like her to do to see if I'm okay. That's my coping skills sometimes, just to be calm, cool, and collective. Because if she saw me going off the deep end, she would stress out even more.
Well, and yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, go on.
But yes, men like to fix it. But men also have a problem of communicating what's going on with them to their spouses or to their partners. Because I can ask Dave, so are you okay? Something seems wrong. I'm fine. Okay.
But do you know what fine is for a guy, right?
Hold on.
Yeah.
So then a little while later, are you sure you're okay? Because you kind of, it seems like something's wrong. I'm fine. If anything's wrong, I'll tell you. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, dude. You're not fine.
Well, see, the difference between me and her is that if I'm noticing something's wrong with Mary, I tell her what I'm observing. She just doesn't give me that feedback.
I give you feedback. I say, you're being a little snippet today, or you're doing a lot of heavy sighs, or you're on your phone a lot playing your game. What's going on? Because I know that that's how you process things. So then I ask you, hey, what's up? What's going on?
But I think you don't like the answer when I say, I'm still working through it. I'll give you the answer when I know it.
No, that answer is fine. It's just that I rarely get the other side of that.
Well,
which to me says, is he still working through this? Because
yes.
It sure has been a long time.
Well, we've had those arguments about processing speed. I tend to process a little slower about what's going on because I'm concerned about my responses instead of reacting. Because I know that reacting doesn't help. If I'm always reacting to everything, I get different responses from other people. Like, I could literally piss people off, and that wasn't my intention, by my reaction. And things that you say do have power. Like Maya Angelou says, if you're going to say words, they're going to stick on people. They're things that come to life, and they attach to you, and people hold on to those things. Mm-hmm. So I seem to be the tendency to be a little more reserved until I've had enough, and then I blow up. But I try not to do that. I'm working really hard not to do the blow up. I'm trying to have a discussion and talk about the things. So fine for me means that I'm processing. I need, give me some time. When I figure it out, I'll let you know. And leave it at that. Don't keep thermometering, checking me every 5 minutes. Let me get the time, because Mary knows that once I figure it out, I will tell her, this is what was coming up for me. This is why I was, processing whatever it is that I was processing. And then she's like, oh, and then she goes, how come you couldn't tell me that yesterday? I'm like, going, because I didn't know. I was processing. But in Mary's world, she could process lickety split, like fast. And so it probably drives her nuts watching me think. Now, it doesn't mean I'm more intelligent than her or less or whatever it is, or she's better at communication skills or whatever it is. We're two different individuals, and we have to honor our processes and how people do things. I mean, everybody can have the same project, but they're going to attack it differently because they're all different people.
True.
And so you got to honor their processes. So if you're type A that needs to get it done right now, and I'm type B, how do you think that's going to clash? It's going to cause a lot of anxiety, isn't it? And it's going to cause a lot of heated discussions. But it's okay to have those heated discussions. You need to have them, because I'm a firm believer that we train the people how we want to be treated.
Yes.
So if you don't take a stand for who you are, then that sends a message that this person could do whatever they want, and they can walk all over you. And so you can't get upset later and blow up on them because they didn't know. So you need to communicate your hurts and your feelings. Mary and I have been doing that since we met, to her chagrin, because I know she hates it and doesn't like it. But I force her to do that because I'm trying to become better spouse for her.
Well, it's pretty much since we first met, but ever since we joined the life leadership community, because when we did that, we for a couple of years we got rid of our cable. We got off Facebook. I got off Facebook for like 90 days, and when one of the things that always made me laugh in the beginning, when I would be listening to an audio or one of the live speakers, and they would say, the number one problem, the number one thing in divorce or marriages that cause divorce isn't money, it's communication.
That's right. It's communication.
Because now you're like, when you don't have when you don't have shows to come out to, or so social media to excuse me, scroll on, you have to talk to each other.
Right. I mean, we're finding out through all the lockdowns and everything of whose marriages are staying together and who's getting divorced.
Yeah.
Because now they're getting forced to talk to each other. Because if you live with somebody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's a lot different than going to work 10 hours a day.
Right.
And only seeing them intermittently throughout the week. I think what's the average time that people spend at home with their family is maybe 24 hours, 74 hours the most?
I have no idea.
When people were working? I think if you had the average of 40-hour workday week, you might see them in the morning, you might see them at night for a couple hours, and you go to bed, and then you maybe have a weekend if you don't work on the weekends. So all the people that have been locked down, have been forced to get to know the person that they married all over again.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you got to remember, you married them because you want to spend the rest of your life with them. So it seems like we spend the rest of our lives with the people that we work with than the people that you love.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that ironic? So maybe this is a good thing, this lockdown, because I can't imagine all the heated discussions that's been happening and like, oh my God, you do this? I didn't realize you were a slob. I didn't realize you were, a neat freak or whatever it is that, oh my God, you're driving me nuts. You're like, every time I walk into the kitchen, you're picking something up. I don't know, whatever it is.
Well, scary. And the levels of anxiety and depression and mental health concerns have really spiked during this time, along with suicides, unfortunately, because people don't have the things that they need to learn how to cope.
Right. I agree with that. I mean, we could talk about this for hours. We're a little lengthy tonight, but it was a big subject for us. We're definitely going to swing around this subject again, probably in the next couple of weeks. And maybe we can get into some techniques and maybe we can learn how to communicate with each other and just be nice. Well, I'm Dave Showman, and this is...
I'm Mary Shulman.
And we are MaD Life. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for listening.